But I had this idea in my mind that I was going to use politics um, to make good public policy. And when I first ran into Ron Paul, all he did was vote no. And he gave floor speeches explaining why he was voting no. But consciously or not, and I think he was just being a stubborn libertarian, but consciously or not, he was building brand authenticity that by the time he got around to running as a Republican in the presidential stage, the kids thought he was cool because he was the only guy in Washington at the time that actually had consistently said the same thing all those years. And now we sort of appreciate that as sort of burnishing your brand and not corrupting it by saying one thing to some people and other things to other people, like all politicians do. And he was using politics not as, and I'm going somewhere with this, he was using politics not as a means of passing good policy. He was using politics as a cultural soapbox to spread the word. And I don't know if he knew that at the time, but you and a million people like you are sort of living proof that that's what he did so successfully.
Absolutely, yeah, and I don't know if he ever could have imagined that the things he was doing, the votes he was taking, the speeches he was giving and putting into that congressional record, if he ever imagined the sort of intellectual revolution that it would inspire. But that is exactly what did inspire us. It's what inspired me to get excited about his presidential campaign. It's what inspired me to hammer home to my dad, like, no, you have to listen to this guy. I remember the first time I sent him a Ron Paul clip from YouTube. It was something about, I think Ron Paul was comparing the situation in Iraq to Vietnam, and my dad is a Vietnam veteran, and he basically replied like, "This guy's a wacko. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Put your time and money elsewhere." And I emailed back. I remember I said, "I think you're wrong here, Dad. Actually, I got to be honest. I really think he's worth supporting. I hope you'll continue to keep your mind open on this." And I would just be consistent, as consistent as Ron Paul was in his votes and his speeches. I would consistently send my dad another clip. Send my dad, because my dad was really a true Republican in the sense of he really did believe in individual responsibility, individual rights. But I tried to help use the Ron Paul to show him. I kind of made it my mission. Like, if someone's going to see this, it's got to be you. Like, come on. And eventually he came around and said, you know what? But it was really that credibility that helped to, I think, show him. It wasn't just his debate appearances, because those could be, to me, they got me fired up and excited, but he wasn't always the most coherent. If you didn't know what he was talking about, you might not always make all the connections that he's trying to make in a 60-second soundbite. So sometimes he would come across a little loony to people that didn't fully, quote unquote, get it during those debate appearances. But it was really that credibility. It was his history of the no votes. I would say, look at his history. He's voted against all this stuff. All the stuff the Republicans you've been supporting are for. How could you not be for him? Look at everything he's been saying all these years. And eventually my dad came around. He became a Ron Paul supporter, Ron Paul donor. And I like to think the whole thing really helped change his overall political view. I mean, I wouldn't call my dad like a hardcore anarcho-capitalist libertarian or anything, but it has certainly shaped the way he's viewed politics over the years. And to me, that's just one small victory for me, because I mean, the reason I started Lions of Liberty, the reason we started this, it was actually just a few friends of mine that first started it as a website. We all knew each other from college, from Penn State. That's where the Lion comes from. And we really wanted to capture that spirit of Ron Paul. And first we did it through writing articles, kind of covering the campaign, filtering different news events through those same ideas of individual rights and individual liberty. And then eventually that was what became the Lions of Liberty podcast. But that's always been the way we've seen things. We want to not necessarily parrot Ron Paul's talking points, because then we can just post Ron Paul videos all day. You don't need us to do that. But it's really that same spirit, that stoicism, that drive to be bold, to speak truth to power, and to not really be concerned about saying the right thing.